How about that? How about that? How about that? Everything we talk about, ill intent, violence, physicality, execution, the will to win. Just win, baby.
You are now about to witness the strength of street.
How's it going, guys? Ralf in the building, and welcome to another episode of Straight Outta Nation. 100% Raiders, no Chargers, no Chiefs, no Broncos, just Raiders, baby. And last night we have an amazing episode of Straight Outta Nation with a diehard fan. But in this opportunity, we have another amazing guest. We can dig it out about for the history of 2000, 2010, and of course a little bit twist of this generation. We're talking about for Devontae Adams rumors and how the 2000 Raiders changed the whole football along with Charles Woodson. And we have a special guest. So ladies and gentlemen, I will give you to present the man of the hour, the one and only Millennial Raider. How's it going, Millennial Carrier?
How you doing? Thank you for having me today.
Yes, sir. So first and foremost, I just wanted to tell it about it. So in this culture, which is the Raiders Nation, I see like a huge impact during for the 2000, because right now we just see like a lot of greatness of this generation, because we just see like how the involvement about for this thing. I mean, the Raider Nation becomes like how the good they are, because I know we're just born in the 90s and well, the name Millennial Raider, I mean, that fits very perfectly. But the only question I have to say about it, how good were the 2000 Raiders? I mean, they were really good because they just had Rich Gannon, Tim Brown, also Tyron Wakely that had an amazing season. It was that great. And the defense was like phenomenal, which is they have one tiny problem with this. There's nothing can stop for that Baltimore Ravens for the all. I mean, that defense was really unstoppable, but also they just got the best of Andre Reese last season for the 2000 Raiders. Also, there's Charles Woodson. I mean, they just came like a great team to just run after the legendary Raiders team. I mean, they could have happened like this one, but the 2000, 2001, 2002, I mean, that was just like the greatest one. That was like tons of fun, and that was like the offense, how they really moved out the ball, along with Jerry Rice, Jolly Gardner, and of course the unfamous Tuck Rule. So I guarantee that how good is the 2000 Raiders, because we've been digested about for the 2000, 2010. So how can it compare about for this season's defense to the other defense became changed the culture in 2000?
So I think the 2000s, like the early 2000 Raiders, they did really well for many reasons. I think the piece that kind of put everything together was John Gruden, right? Like a young John Gruden mind was elite. The John Gruden that we got in 2018, I feel like the game was a little bit past his, you know, his way of coaching, where the early 2000s, that, he was the newer generation coaches. And so that helped out a lot because at that point, not Charles Woodson, Tim Brown, Jerry Rice, they were Hall of Famers already. You know what I mean? And so you kind of have to manage people's egos. I don't want to say Tim Brown had an ego, but Rod Woodson was there. Just a bunch of future Hall of Famers were on the roster, and so you have to handle it and lead it, right? Being a young coach, it can probably be a little intimidating, but I don't think we've ever seen John Gruden be intimidated by anything, and so I think that played a huge part. But I mean, there was like almost a video game, right? Like you would just see dimes being thrown from Rich Gannon to Tim Brown, which was energizing. And then it almost seemed like it was going to be a perfect handoff to Jerry Porter, which was pretty cool to watch as well. The defense was also pretty, they were lighting things up. I would say, Napoleon Harris is someone that's probably not talked about enough. He had a lot of good moments with us. Anthony Dorsett Jr. Who else? We had Ted Washington as well. Ted Washington did, had some good plays for us. And so I think just that whole, back in black mystique kind of thing was also part of the personality. And it feels like that's back now, where all our players are, wearing all black now. It's a blackout. So I think that helps the energy. I think that helps a lot.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, during for the decade of 2000, because when I was a kid, because in that moment I was like 7 years old. But in the world for the Raiders, I mean, they have like the greatest chance to win in the Super Bowl because they don't really think that the Ravens were in the love or were in for the game, but they only survived for the one play and purposely injured for the quarterback. And for the 2002, I mean, that team that was like really fun to watch, and it was really dangerous. Despite for the most ridiculous style Super Bowl had turned out, I mean, the offense was moving out the ball, but I don't think that growing, knowing the play would matter. Like as long as much as Robbins will never the bender, I mean, they have execute for all the season, all season long. If Gannon had the protection, it will be like still provides for the points to make plays happen. I mean, that game will be like too much close if they had like the center and the team was relying the practice when they changed the game plan. I mean, they couldn't move like it against it all. I mean, including for the infamous talk rule. I mean,
Yeah.
2002 was like the most completed at all. That just seems upon for the defense, which they have against the Super Bowl, but people don't understand about for how they didn't grade it to go into the box. I mean, if they have it 1 year, but it was just like that year they were really flopped. But I think that 2000, I mean, that was just like a glorious era because during for the first 3 years of the decade of 2000, that was like historical and that complete changed the whole culture of the Raiders nation.
For the Super Bowl, on what I read, Tim Brown's book, and Tim Brown's book, he spoke about kind of the details of what happened, and I don't think it was just fully like John Gruden knowing the playbook, but he mentioned that their game plan was to have a heavy run game that game, and then like the morning of the Super Bowl, Bill Callahan like had this dream that they passed all over the Buccaneers. He like changed, their game plan to more passing, and Rich Gannon threw 5 picks, and the rest was history. So I definitely John Gruden knowing the playbook played a hand in that, but I also think just the unrealisticness of Bill Callahan played a part as well.
Yeah, I remember about that.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, that was the sad about it. I mean, we should have been one for at least one Super Bowl during that era. I mean, if Al Davis was still alive, I mean, that would never happen until that happened. I mean, for that reason, I mean, the 2000 and 2002 and 2001 Raiders, I mean, they became part of the culture. I mean, they have like greatest players who play everything could happen because since we got to celebrate the past sets, I mean, for the 2000 and 2002, 2003, I mean, they just kind of like very rough, but after we just see it like a great talent. I mean, the 2000 Raiders became like part of the historical moment that we also would just see about it.
I feel like the black hole also played a big part because, like, in the early 2000s, Star Wars was, huge.
Hmm.
And I remember going to games and stormtroopers were at the games. You know what I mean? And so it was a lot, So people who were connected with Star Wars connected with the Raiders. And so things like that, like I feel like the black hole needs to get that reputation back again, where it's not pleasant for players to hang out and stretch over there, score over there, stuff like that. And so hopefully, we get more black jerseys in the stands this year. Hopefully, we have more of a home field advantage.
Mm, that's very good at all. And since right now this is like a special episode to dedicate to the 2000 Raiders, I mean, there is like another player which is defined for the whole generation, which is like the greatest kicker ever in the history. We know about it, which is the one and only Sebastian Jankovic, because he was there during 17 seasons for the Oakland Raiders, and he became like one of the most successful careers ever in the Raiders. He only played 17 seasons at the Raiders and one for the Seahawks. And I mean, the special talent they have Janowski, I mean, he became like a monster. I mean, there's nothing comparable for that kicker. I mean, when the year before the Raiders went 8-8 and they just lost 4 games, I mean, if they're gonna draft a great kicker, it will be turned close into the wins. But I mean, Sebastian Jankovic, special talent. I mean, he was like a great kicker. I mean, his career was doing phenomenal thing. But tell us about what moment that Sebastian Janovic, he made like a great Raider because we only know that the part of the history we just got Charles Woodson, Tim Brown, but Sebastian Janovic, I mean, it's very like hard to define it about it. I mean, he was just like a great kicker, but when it comes to the hype, I mean, how long it's been for the organization? I mean, this like nothing about this. Nothing. But he was doing like he wasn't that very special when he compared for the other kickers he played alongside, but he was just like a blueprint for the kickers for the Raiders. I mean, imagine this because after he was like a yard field goal attempt, I mean, boy, that was like one of the favorite things. And he was great and he didn't like a shit about anybody thought about him. I mean, he was just like a great one. I mean, that year it became like so important. I mean, it went through all the dark times. I mean, Crazy was starting during the 2000 glory days, and he was just like he changed the whole culture for the quarterback. But he was like the blueprint for all of the kickers that nobody saw that coming.
What's funny about Jano is my first game in 2001, he missed like 4 or 5 field goals. So he wasn't Jano then, right? But I would say one of his defining games, it's actually a pretty cool game. If you go to, I want to say 2011 versus the Bears, um that game, I think he was kicked like 5 field goals, and Shane had like some crazy like within the 20-yard line punts on Devin Hester. Like I remember Devin Hester had to backpedal like 20 yards because he kicked it like crazy far. And so that game was just like a pinnacle of how good our kickers are. They literally won the game for us because Jano was getting the only points and then Shane was pinning them back, every time. And so that, that's a signature game right there for those two.
I mean, you're right. Also, we got another comment right now. We see Robert Pena say, I have been a fan since 1976. Also, Robert Pena, they say, who do you guys think is our starting quarterback? Well, I think because right now we just see like getting the burrs with the 2000 Raiders, but right now we just see for the actual position. I mean, we just got Aiden O'Connor versus Gardner Minshew. I mean, it all depends for the battle of quarterbacks on training camp. But I really think that Aiden O'Connor it should be like a starting quarterback because if no one see that happens, I mean, what's happened with the move? I mean, Aiden O'Connor has more mobility, more started. I mean, they're still have a boy for this one. I mean, I really think about it. I really think because he's not gonna be like the same one as the backup because with a little bit spicy throwing out, he has like a better shot to start some games if they don't draft the guy. I mean, even the rest of the career, he taught like a backup's quarterback or worth rostering. But if Kennedy gonna throw some deals, but I think over the last seasons, I mean, but if it comes to like defense and of course solid team, I mean, AOC became like so realistic. But I mean that he can be like something interesting, but he will have to compete at all. But also along with Gardner Minshew, I mean, they're gonna be like an epical battle of ability to everything. If because that was like a crazy game against the Chargers. I mean, other than another game, because I haven't seen like Warden starting over. I mean, if you want to make it on some plays, he might be cool like under pressure, but it's also it has the worst not to complete like passing plays and against for the Chiefs. But that's really crazy to say about for the rookie who overtook like the offense and this conductor. But also when it led to the quarterback coach, that was like an awful. I mean, Aaron O'Connor did like a hell of a job in any position, but it may not be like the starter, but that's like it happened last season. I mean, he gave like getting enough to give like a chance to be like a starter. I mean, they would complete like anything could happen. So I know that I understand that who could be like a starter. Is it gonna be Aaron O'Connor or Gardner Minshew? It all depends for the defense.
Um, from Devontae Adams like press run, I feel like it's Aiden O'Connell because he just kept saying, it's Aiden O'Connell's job to lose, and so when you're, $30 million wide receiver saying that, I think you're gonna lean towards him. I think people only go towards Minshew is because of his contract, and so if the only reason you're qualified to be a starter is because you get paid more, that isn't indicator that you're should be the starter. And so, if Devontae Adams feels comfortable with him, if he's comfortable, Max Crosby saying, he's talking more smack, he's, saying more, talking more words. And so if he's has that attitude, then, why not give him a shot? Because we have tape on Minshew. We know what he can do.
I mean, that's right. But in my point, because he was very good enough to keep like the veterans happy. I mean, the veterans don't give like enough about for the cat. If that guy was really awful, I mean, he would like lost to locker room until they put up like thing.
For sure.
But I understand about like anything about for the level of disappointing, but I mean, he performed like considerably on the circumstance and the level of play he is. I mean, I don't know why they're gonna expect it to him like a star in those circumstances, but living out of expectations. I mean, the fact he was like a turnover machine immediately that made him better than Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, probably it just gave like the Raiders a flow for the play-ins for very long. But
yeah.
I just really thought because I'm 100% confident choosing the guy who gives like the best chance to win. But I think that Aiden O'Connor is gonna take like the starting job. It was like very rough at first, but if he had to fraud about for the decent game manager towards the end, if you really ask it about it, I mean, they're gonna be like Peterman out to the turnover with the ball out. Because I just wanted to know the straw to draft the rookie. I mean, he was just like a mid, but he was very good enough to keep like the bets happening and Jimmy on the bench. But I guarantee because he just throw the ball and came to complete. I mean, also I just trusted because he's certainly because of the defense. That's what we needed about it. I mean, we had to learn to not to lose games because we just have like a good defense. It is okay to lean on them. I mean, we don't have like anything about for the problem, but we may not resolve the position. I mean, if the quarterback doesn't fall, but let's continue up with for like 18 that we wanted to play for. I mean,
Yeah,
that's the reasons.
for sure. Yeah, I mean, it just really sounds like Aiden O'Connell's in like the driver's seat for the starting position, and it's his to lose, and it doesn't seem like he's letting up on it, you know. So hopefully, we get some good plays. That's what I hope. I hope that him and Devontae Adams build a strong enough connection where he can just use not even Devontae Adams, somebody as like a security blanket. You know what I mean? Like that's what a young quarterback needs. Somebody that he feels like he knows he can throw it to. They're either going to catch it or make sure it's not picked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can figure it out. But also, we just pick it up for Devontae Adams because I just saw for like over the media and of course the series documentary about for the receiver. I mean, Devontae Adams, he needs to stay as a Raider. Not only because he just grew up and he just born into with it, because I feel that Devontae Adams, he needs to really stay and prove to the world that forget about for the fake news right now. Because I understand, because after we just saw for like frustrating Jimmy Garoppolo's poor throws, because there's like a poor connection between Jimmy Garoppolo and Devontae Adams, between the quarterback and wide receiver. I mean, they just wanted to miss like an opportunity. But I understand that after we just saw for like the rumors, I believe that my official sources is Devontae Adams could stay as a Raider. Give it like the opportunity to make him like a Raider to go to the championship or Super Bowl. But what makes me interested about it because Devontae Adams has a great special talent that nobody saw that coming as a wide receiver because they just see like an immense yards when you see the people had show about it. I mean, I know he was not very happy about for the loss, but during after Antonio Pierce came in, I mean, they just brought like great energy, a great aura. I mean, I just really thought because that defense is unmatchable. I mean, can you believe that? I mean, the defense of Devontae Adams, I mean, he became like very normal touchdown, but I think the spiciest thing that we just see for the over the highlights and over the games, I mean, the talent had both incredible. I mean, the FNC was unparalleled because I know it's gonna be like some incredible throws and it can fit into the coverage so precisely because I just really hope because I don't think this is like a quarterback in NFL history with a better combination of arm accuracy and strength. But Devontae Adams is that dog.
So here's my take for Devontae Adams.
Uh-huh.
I'm glad he's a Raider. I'm glad he's here. But for me, his pickup was more like we just went to the playoffs. Now we got to elevate this and go deeper, right? And so since we picked him up, we've reset coach, we've reset quarterback. And so, in my honest opinion, if the Raiders were to trade him right now, I wouldn't be upset. And this is the reason why. Is because next year his cap hit's going to be bigger. He's going to be older. And for me, like, to win a Super Bowl, almost everything needs to go right, right? Like, you need to make decisions that benefit your team in the long run, all right? And so having Devontae Adams on the team this year is going to be cute, right? Like, he's going to have great catches from Aiden O'Connell, hopefully have great numbers, things like that. But, like, are we realistically going to win a Super Bowl this year with the rookie head coach and 2 backup quarterbacks? I hope we do, right? But realistically, is it possible? And so if we can make decisions to start building towards the future and, 3 years from now, after we win a Super Bowl, like, man, I'm glad, we started making that trade early. That way we could start building towards this. That's what I feel like we need to start doing soon. I feel like Mark Davis tries to build a Super Bowl team every offseason, and you can't just build it in the offseason, like in one offseason. You know what I mean? And we keep resetting. And so, I don't want to sound like I don't want Devontae here. I love having him here. He's a great player, but I want to win. And so we need some sort of formula that's going to work. And right now, what they're doing, I hope it's a step in the right direction. But like I said, next year he's going to be a year older. His cap hit's going to be bigger. And so it's only going to hurt the team in the long run. And so that's my honest opinion for it.
I agree with that. And I just figured it out because how the hell are they going to defend like that? Because, I mean, that was like the closest. I mean, how to consider how the was of the season he was playing. I mean, that's very impressive because, I mean, that team has no problem at all. And that was just like a great strange. But I think that the technique allows for them to make incredible catches. I mean, there's nothing to compare about it. I mean, if you see like because that was just like the earliest one. I mean, he learned it from like the Green Bay Packers and just helping with the road development. Even he just lost the speed. I mean, he can really improve about it. I mean, the pressure was in a full swing, to win this. I mean, for game status, rating efficiency and positive plays. I mean, because that feels like a great team. I mean, how this gonna be like something else? I mean, there's like physical talents around receiver. I mean, they have like pure throwing ability that you ever see. I mean, they have like the clutches that I will see about it. I mean, when it comes to like not that slowing down, because I figured it out because they're very aggressively. I mean, between for the defense and Devontae Adams, because they just wanted to be like great. They just wanted to feel the greatness, and of course, they just wanted to play like the old football. And all it comes for the blueprint. I mean, the Antonio Pierce blueprint is how to get the design for the old football, getting back to the roots that we learned about for the 2000s, the 90s, the 80s, I mean the 70s. It's all about for the plan to make us aggressive and make some potential wins.
I like that.
Mm-hmm. Also, we just had talking about for Devontae Adams and of course for the success of 2000 Raiders. So make sure to hit the like button. Also subscribe to Rafael Chesson as known as El Capitán Rafucho and our special guest, Millennial Raiders. So the minutes was just post the Raider right now. So there it is. Millennial Radio has a post right now. If you see that, because there's like the videos coming on through. So thank you very much. And of course, we have like a different topic about that. So I know that we just talking about for like the tight ends, which is I really noticed about for the Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer, because I've been told that Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer, it became like something like Aaron Hernandez and Rob Gronkowski with the New England Patriots. But I know because they're like a freak athletes. I mean, just like a generational prospect, but I think it's all that business. Because I really thought because probably is one of the most of the safety picks. I mean, he has a very good weapon because also they just have it because they just win whether for the during like was terminated, and also he just shining light for the took like the field when it comes to like Georgia Bulldogs. But I mean that they made like a massive good choice about for the draft. I mean, the success for the offense was not to really hinge at the corner or the receivers or the tight ends. But if we can run the ball with this dynamic duo, it doesn't matter how they are. And they had to manage right now. I mean, they all with each hinge for the online with a new Sun Sheen. I mean, the running backs, whatever they can run, but it definitely had the ball without Josh Jacobs. But it's crazy. It's crazy about it because they always strike like a serious individual because how is gonna be like so important for the dynamic duo. I mean, it's not gonna be like really awkward. But this is like the youngest tight end room that we just see a lot of this. I mean, offensive rookies. I mean, they're getting their love. They just need like more development. But Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer, they became like one of the special of beast monsters and eat alive on the roster and also for the field.
I'm very excited for this tight end duo. Michael Mayers just did an interview where he was just talking about how, last year was kind of just like a learning experience, right? Where he was learning how to recover his body, how to prepare mentally for games, things like that. So that's going to be awesome. And then watching Brock Bowers and the way it looks like he's already in his sophomore year. You know what I mean? And so the way his peers talk about him, how he's just about business, I'm excited to see it. It feels like we saw him smile for the first time this week when they were doing media day, which was kind of cool. But yeah, it seems like Brock Bowers is gonna kind of, I don't know, when they're partying or not partying, but when they're all kind of just in a relaxed flow, he's gonna kind of bring the locker together. That's what I think, because Brock Bowers just seems like he carries himself that way, where he's not gonna accept anything but greatness.
I mean, I agree with that. I mean, there's something about special how the talent of Michael Mayer and Brock Bowers. I mean, they're gonna make it like very true enough, but I think it's gonna be like really generational talent, and also for Brock Bowers. I mean, after that, I just saw for like the interview of Hunter Carpenter. I mean, I just wanted to put like this one because it's gonna be like a project one of those best on the game right now. I mean, can you imagine this? I mean, when I just saw like dynamic duo of Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer, it feels like we just give it like back to all for the contribution, giving back like the greatness that we just saw for the 80s, the 90s, and 2000. I mean, they're gonna be like very projected at all. And I understand. I understand because he always put that part because it could be like possibly impact the team just like that immediately. I mean, between for the dynamic duo of Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer, it could be very explosive at production. Production. I mean, but if it comes like undoubtedly talent, I mean, there comes like an overcome if it's gonna be like the best rookie tight end because they have like some hurdles that would be clear, but it's under the way for the rookie campaign. I mean, between for the garden situation, it doesn't like shiny or young newer talent, but without Davante Adams, is still like the top dog for the passing catching contingent. I mean, what you see about for the Brock Bowers talent, it's undeniable because he just proved like the same for the Menace on a weekly basis, and he could lead like the rookie tight end, but it's emerging like an offensive focal point as the goal for the growing back for the season.
Back to kind of where I was talking about Brock Bowers and how he like carries himself. He's kind of giving me the same feeling that Amari Cooper gave us when we drafted him, right? Like it almost feels like I said, he's in his sophomore year. Like he's ready to go. We're like when we drafted Michael Mayer and we drafted Henry Ruggs, we knew they weren't going to be like stars week one. You know what I mean? Like we knew it was going to take a little bit to develop them. Where Brock Bowers, it seems like he's ready to go. And so I honestly just hope that they all are just spending time with their quarterbacks, getting to know each other, getting that, familiarity. That way it kind of just shows on the field.
Exactly. And of course, we'll just have like a last topic because right now we digest about for the greatness of 2000 Raiders. We're talking about a little bit of Davante Adams. Also, we're just talking about for Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer. So over the last episodes that I just talked with some content creators and diehard fans, and I know that you grew up watching the 2000 Raiders. So I gotta ask you about for the cultural impact about for the Raiders because I just saw like over the media and of course for the highlights, we just saw like the great impact how the Raiders became like the most incredible and of course, the most important fan base in the whole world. Because if you see like Dallas Cowboys are denominated as with them boys, Americans team, but they're really not. Because we, as the Raiders, we just came here as the worldwide team, the most undefeated. I mean, the misfits, the bad guys. I mean, we just see like the greatness of John Madden and Al Davis, and of course, we just see like Jim Plunkett. Also, there is Charles Woodson, Sebastian Janovic. I mean, all these athletes became like trailblazing to our generation, and not only about for the sports, but also about for the music, because over the last season, we just see it now for Taylor Swift, for the Cheese and Travis Kelce, but for us, for the Raider Nation, we have a great taste in music, rock music, hip hop music. If you see Metallica at the parking lot of the Oakland Raiders back in 2003, that was just like a great concert to pump it up. Also, we just see Ice Cube. Also, there's MC Hammer, NWA, Cypress Hill. I mean, there's nothing comparable for the energy, the aura we just got from the nation. I mean, if we just see like at another teams and we would just saw like different fans, but we just see like at a bunch of bandwagons. But for us, when it comes to the Raider fan, you can never come back because it's all about for the silver and black, and you can never compare about for the fan base we just had because we're just like a misfit of bad guys. I mean, I understand, but we just have like a great thing to know about it because we give it back like the community we just had. I mean, give it like a great thing, and of course the greatness. We just had to figure it out about the nation.
I think the biggest thing we need to do is win to get it back. Winning fixes a lot of problems, because when we beat the Chargers in 2022 to get to the playoffs, I mean, you could feel the energy from the TV in Las Vegas that night, And so I think missing piece is just winning. And honestly, I can dig deep into that and explain to you how I feel about ownership and the reasons why we're not winning. And we have to, start making those early decisions and plan long term instead of just planning for next year. And that's what I think we really need to do. Winning generates more fans. More fans have great energy, and we're kind of back to that. Because right now it's kind of awkward. It's awkward because you'll have Ice Cube open the game and then perform at halftime, and then we'll have an embarrassing loss, and that kind of just leaves a bitter taste, right? People have to travel to these games now. You travel to these games and they don't win, and so we have to figure out a way to make all this effort that we all do as a community worth it. You know what I mean? And so I don't know the formula for them, but that's what's going to fix it. That's what's going to bring the mystique back. That's what's going to get us relevant. Like the NFL league just feels more fun when the Raiders are winning, like it's annoying other fan bases. It's annoying other teams, and it's fun to watch that.
Yeah, I understand. Also, there's like a comment on Face that say the Raiders are gonna Raider this deeply ingrained and probably the elephant, the room going forward. Just, I mean, repeating over and over. But I understand because no matter if we win or lose, we're a nation till I die. So that's one of those catchphrases that we just stick about for the DNA as part of the identity. We just have it like this one. Also, salute to Protect the Shield podcast. How's it going? Salute Rafa. Salute Millennial Raider. How's it going? Protect the Shield is one of the greatest content creators that I just see because he had a great takes on Raider Nation. But of course, we just have like a great fun to see how to watch it today. So Protect the Shield, love. After that, I'm doing this episode. I mean, I will definitely contact you because I mean, we just have it like so much fun for this one. But there's like another thing that I would like to address it about for the Millennial Raiders. So I know there's because right now during for the 2000 Raiders game, I mean that was like a decade who changed the whole culture. So can you name just only one memorable moment that you remember all for the culture of the 2000 Raiders? A moment that changed the whole history.
I don't I don't want to say it was like a moment, but honestly, I don't want to say it was 2000, just because from what I got from like neighbors and people who went to games before I started going to games, it honestly was when they returned in '97. I think it was '97 because the city felt like they lost their team, right, and now they're back. And so when the Raiders would come out, when the defense would come out, they'd run by the black hole, get their helmet slapped by Gorilla, and they'd play back in black. And I feel like that was like the setting of the tone every game. You know what I mean? And so I feel like the return, that song, and just the black hole kind of put that all together.
I mean, that's great. And even that I just born in South America, that I just moved into Charlotte, North Carolina, and I just learned about for the history and the organization for the Raiders, and it makes me so proud and so brave to choose incredible team, which is the Raiders. And I mean, they have so much different about for the culture, tradition, also for DNA, identity, and we just came like at a group of diverse group because no matter if you're black, Native American, Hispanic, Asian, I mean, the Raiders are became like a team when it comes to diversity, and we are all united for one reason. There's only one nation, and that's the Raiders, because we just became like very passionate. We just became like very brave because if we want to see like everything on the Sunday when it comes to football, I mean, that's a really great to watch that. I mean, there's nothing to compare. I mean, there's nothing to compare about for the passion, the energy that we just got from the Raiders. Even when it comes to football season, every Sunday or Thursday or Monday, and when the Raiders are here, we can scream a lot. We can drink a lot of alcohol, not to get wasted, but also we can really enjoy the moment about for the Raiders.
I mean, that's kind of how I became a fan, right? It was just being in an environment where I can scream my head off with other adults and, just kind of just let loose, It was very relaxed. Things that you worried about, don't worry about there, Like you honestly in Oakland, you could show up with no money on an empty stomach and eat like a king because everybody is just, willing to share food, willing to share a good time. It was just a great time over there. And so honestly, it's like that in Vegas too. We went to Vegas. They, were feeding everybody. They had a great party. It was similar.
Exactly. So I just wanted to tell her about it. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Straight Outta Nation. So Millennial Radio, thanks for coming. Also, where can we find you on the social media that people can watch your content? And of course, give it a lot of nostalgia for all these Raiders who grew up in the 2000s.
I'm on YouTube. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Instagram. I'm doing just like a lot of different things, trying stuff out. Right now, I'm just doing a bunch of reactions to bad Raider seasons. So that's been pretty fun, kind of, tapping into my childhood. On my Instagram, I'm giving away a signed Shane Lindler jersey. All you have to do is follow and tag 3 Raider fans. Okay. So make sure you check out my pinned post on my Instagram. But yeah, I mean, I started this page like a month ago. And so, just kind of trying different things and seeing what's fun. And yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, I just wanted to tell her about it. Hit the like button, subscribe to El Capitán Rafucho on YouTube, and thank you very much for hitting a new milestone, which is 1K subscribers. So thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Also, we just have like a great comment. So there is Protect the Shield, The Menace, Unface, Robert Pena. Also, there is Daniel Berry Sports. Also, there's Raiders Rebel. How's it going? And I was watching your show with Will Governor. I mean, that was very amazing. So I just wanted to tell her about it because this never stops right now because we're keeping going before the preseason, before the season starts. So thank you very much for having us on this episode of Straight Outta Nation with a special guest, Millennial Raider, talking about for the 2000 Raiders from Devontae Adams, Buck Bowers, and everything about for the impact culture. So thank you very much. Have a great night. Have a great Thursday. And of course, like all David says, just win, baby. Have a good one and see you there. Peace out.